Welcome to Inside Sports. I'm Nodley Wright. With me are Ashton Blankson, coach of Campion College, and Paul Maxwell, coach, recruiter, and everything at Cavalier. And he's also a sports analyst. And we'll be looking at Jamaica's performance in the recently held Gold Cup. More when we return. Welcome back to Inside Sports. And we're looking at Jamaica's performance in the recently held Gold Cup. And Sir Paul, I'm going to start with you. What are your impressions of Jamaica's performance?
Well, my impressions are it was extremely disappointing. Based off of how we did previously, at this stage going up against teams that were depleted, with their squads, and Jamaica being close to full strength, we expected them for the minimal to have reached the semi-finals.
Okay. Ashton?
I think overall Jamaica would want to see a better result. I think going to the finals, winning the tournament is really what most Jamaicans would want to see, so anything short of that is considered as disappointing. However, we saw some positives, we saw some build up, some good play from Jamaica when you look at games against Costa Rica. So there are some positives, but let's see how we can now step from here and get ready for the World Cup qualifiers.
Okay. Sir Paul, you said that we were almost at full strength. Were we?
I think based off of what the coach wants, I think in his squad would have been there.
What the coach wants and what the country and the team needs, are they the same thing?
Maybe not, because to be honest, we get the impression that the British-based players are not priority in the coach's mind. He has a squad that he has been working with over the last 5 years and almost 50 games. So he has a core that he has been working with. So I don't think there's that much room to integrate more British-based players into what he's working with.
We're going to come back to that in a bit, Sir Paul. But Ashton, you said there were positives, and some may beg to differ, but I'm going to ask you a different question first, because you spoke about winning. Were those expectations realistic, looking back now?
Again, I think that's based on the squad we fielded. We could have won the tournament. There are some changes we could have made. I do think the changes for that Costa Rica game, had we made them earlier in the competition, we would have seen a team that's a little bit more fluid, getting the ball forward, getting opportunities on goal. I think the first two games we did get the result, but actually being able to play and create chances, it was very much lacking. So we started to see a little bit more, but and even going to what Paul just mentioned, we look at the overseas-based players having that quality to come in to finish those chances.
You said, you spoke about changes for the third game, because you're speaking about the Costa Rica game. What changes do you speak of, and did you expect them before, and why?
Coming into the tournament, I think the main question Jamaica had to answer is who's going to play in the holding midfield role. We see for years, we've seen Michael Hector feature there for the coach. I think we then saw that transition to Devon Williams, and we saw the entire game for Jamaica be released. The entire team started to enjoy the game, have more possession of the ball, and create more chances.
But Ashton, the following game, a similar thing was done, but we didn't see the same result. What does that say?
I think it's a very interesting decision from the head coach. I think there was some conflicting ideas based on the formation and then the style of actual play. I think Michael Hector is known to be a little bit more robust, a little strong in the tackling. His passing is not as good as the likes of Devon Williams. So having Devon in the team, you'd expect the team trying to play out of the back a little bit more. I think we went straight into some long balls, trying to get the ball over the top against the US team. So there were some things in the team that didn't really make sense, but I think it is positive overall that we are trying to make some strides forward.
Are you saying that some of the things that didn't make sense, they're positive? I just want to be clear what you're saying, Ashton.
I think what it really comes down to is that Coach Whitmore is trying to make the transition. I think the honest opinion I have is that we played the US team, not the strongest US team, but we were afraid to continue in the direction which we were heading, which is just playing some good football, some good passing. We reverted to a little bit more of a long ball type of game. I do think the coach has some questions answered there why we reverted to that. We know the US tried to put some pressure on the attack, but most of the attacks that came from Jamaica came from us trying to get the ball on the ground and move it up the field.
Sir Paul, do you agree with Ashton's position?
The first problem I have, is that a lot of people look at the Costa Rica game and say, yes, we did fairly well. But that Costa Rican team is an aging team. It's a very old team right now. And if you look at the results for Costa Rica after they went and they played Canada, it exposed, how good they basically are. You see? So I think everything based off of what transpired, we got a weakened team, aging team, and we did well against them. After that, we went against a young team that was hungry, and we were exposed.
So again, this tells me then that we are not as good as we think we are.
Definitely not.
Okay. Looking at the 3 games that we played in the preliminary rounds, how many goals did we, taking into consideration the number of games we played, chances created, goals scored, and overall aesthetics of the game, how beautiful and flowing it looked? I'm going to ask you again, were we ready? Are we a good team? I'm going to go back to Ashton first, Sir Paul, and then I'll come back to you with the same question. Yes, Ashton.
I think overall scoring 4 goals in 4 games is going to be underwhelming. Not being able to unlock Costa Rica, US, it is very disappointing. However, I think for both of those games, we actually create more chances that we're just not able to finish. I think in the past, we've seen Jamaica being a little bit too reliant on set pieces, throw-ins, corner kicks. It's something I definitely think we need to still have as a part of our arsenal. But being able to get chances, create those chances through the run of play is exactly what we need to start to do more of.
I noticed you didn't mention the first 2 games, but I'm going to ask Sir Paul to do that and then to analyze our readiness.
Okay, to be honest, against the first 2, opponents that we had played, to be honest, when you look at
Suriname and Guadeloupe, you could name them,
The types of teams that we're playing against Minos, and right now we should be stamping our class against these teams. The second match, basically, it took a little bit of magic from Junior Fleming to take us out of a hole, because we shouldn't have been struggling in a match like that, right? So we need to just call a spade a spade. There are serious problems. The team was together for almost 9 to 10 days before that. And before that also, even though the debacle that they had in Japan was not 100%, a number of those players were also there. So at this stage here now, the coaching staff, with the new additions, the coach had everything that he had asked for. He got the players he wanted as far as we know, who he requested. And when you look at the play against Minos, I expected a lot more. Really expected a lot more.
So again, I put it to you. If it is that our team, and both of you said a strong team, and what the coach and that group is what the coaches wanted, or the coach wanted, then how strong are we? And how is it that we're struggling against minnows and expected to win the Gold Cup and then to do better thereafter? How is that going to work? Ashton, you first.
I mean, I think Jamaica really wants to get back to the winning style of things. The Gold Cup is something that we try to get towards. My personal view is that we need to focus a little bit more on the World Cup qualifiers, get back into the World Cup. I think in those games that we did, Suriname and Guadeloupe, those teams, as I said, they're minnows. I personally did not like their play, but I think in the games that we did not score, we actually progressed and created more chances. So I'm still hopeful that improving that part of the game, the actual finishing the chances, will actually now become a powerhouse in the CONCACAF. I think having Bobby Reid fall out of contention because of the COVID positive test, that also played a factor. We now had to shuffle around the lineup a little bit, and even when he came back into the team, he didn't look as sharp as he normally does.
Well, for me, to be honest, when you look at the personnel, right, that was selected by the coach, and every match, the coach can't blame anybody else. He selected who he wanted to go out there, right? And you can't, if you select someone who is going to be woeful in their performance and they go out there and give a woeful performance, you can't blame that person. Has to be the person that selected them. And there were certain players that, to be honest, were not ready for the goal.
Who are some of these players?
I prefer not to name names, but there are players that were definitely not ready for the Gold Cup at all. But we will see them for the World Cup qualifiers, because they have been a part of the core for the last 5 years that the coach has been using.
I'm going to let you off the hook for a little bit, because we'll have to go to a break now, and on our return, we'll pick it up. Welcome back to Inside Sports. I'm Nodley Wright. With me are Ashton Blankson and Paul Maxwell, and we're looking at Jamaica's performance in the recently held Gold Cup. Sir Paul, at the point we broke, you're talking about some of our players who didn't acquit themselves very well. Who are some of these players you're thinking of? Okay,
well, I can answer it this way. The right back position, that was woeful. It was woeful.
That's Alva Spoil who started there, yes?
Yes, it didn't acquit himself very well at all. I don't know if it's the lack of playing time for, he has been...
Well, he was in Africa for a while, he didn't play much, came back early and only recently got a club.
Right.
Right. What about the left back position? Amari Bell and Kemar Lawrence.
Okay, to be honest, I'm going to be honest right here now.
I expected honesty.
Taxi has passed its best.
Oh my God.
Taxi has passed its best. As far from what I understand also, is that there have been issues with Taxi that the coach, hands were basically tied because he had no options to not use Taxi. But with the arrival of Bell, he has had an option now.
But is Bell a viable option?
No, he's not a viable option either.
So the Bell has told for Amari?
I can't say right now, because the thing is, he has certain positives that he brings to the table, but we lose also the attacking option.
So our two wing-back positions, we are deficient in those areas?
We are deficient in those two areas.
And we don't finish well. I'm coming to you, Ashton. We lack the finishing touch.
That was the next.
We lack defensive midfield solidity, and we don't create very well. But you both say we're a good squad. What do you say about that, Ashton?
I mean, as Paul started to mention, we had some poor play, especially from the right back. I think both from O'Neill Fisher, Alvas Powell, they had some moments that were below par. The defensive midfield position, I don't think we have found the perfect answer. I think Devon Williams definitely brought some more to that position. I think his positioning, his passing ability really impacted the team. I think...
in the Costa Rica game, because we didn't see him in the game against US. And bearing in mind that this is a very young US team, basically a USC team.
Well, I think what it really comes down to is actually having those centre backs having the ability to get the ball in the midfield. We saw some moments that they got the ball in the midfield, and that's how we got behind US and started to move the ball up the field. Overall, though, I think
Sir Paul disagrees with you. It's clear on his face, but we'll go to him in a bit.
Well, I mean, really what it comes down to is that Jamaica has not been known to get the ball up the field by passing it, moving.
All right, Ashton, I'm going to pause right there and ask you something else. Because both of you said that we're a strong team. So let's look at it this way. There are a whole host of issues, some of which cause distraction and other issues going in. When you look at the financial haggling, when you look at the lack of practice games, when you look at the quote-unquote replacement players that they brought in for the game against US in Austria, what happened going to Japan where some players got there late, some didn't get there? There are a whole host of off-the-field issues. How much of an impact did that have on the on-the-field performance? Let me, because you're thinking about it, Sir Paul. Let me hear you first.
Okay. There were a lot of on-the-field issues that were...
No, man, touch it off the field first.
Yeah, there were a lot of off-the-field issues that were basically, I think, kept quiet. People were seeing them. There were...
No, we're not talking about the Gold Cup yet, you know.
Oh.
Pre-Gold Cup, and then let us get into the Gold Cup. Oh, yes.
Well, the issues...
Dig out all the skeletons.
The issues that were there before, as I said, with the negotiation, the player negotiation, that sort of thing, that was solved, and I understand that the contract that is in place now is quite good. It's for 3 years. But the issues that it brought up, and it affected the team with the preparation. Because the USA match should have been a match where we would have been able to have had a good blend. We had to almost be putting out a team now that lacked, the other better players that we would have wanted to integrate at that time with the British players.
Okay.
Right?
And they're not British players, they're Jamaican players born in the UK.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So continue now with the other issues which came up in the Gold Cup. Bring out the skeletons.
The issues that came out in the Gold Cup. You had, okay, let me tell you, the thing is, it was as if there were two camps there. It's as if one set of players came for business. They came to play. Another set came, have fun, gamble, go to party. That did happen. There were videos of the players gambling and so on, doing their thing, having, they were dancing out. Well, nothing wrong with that, with the vibes. But when you see what some of the players, they were crying for more professionalism from the JFF, and then now you're seeing these things that the players are doing, other people are seeing them, players sneaking out, dissing the coach openly.
When you said dissing the coach, what do you mean? What are you talking about?
Dealing with a coach like him is a boy. I won't call any names, but people sight.
And where does this player play? In the UK or in America?
I can't say. I don't want to say.
Do you know who the player is?
Of course I know that.
Does he play in the UK?
I don't think he has played in the UK as he's
okay,
not
as yet. I know where you're going with that. I'm going to take you off the hot seat a little bit. Ashton, let's go to you. We're talking about all the off-the-field issues, the poor preparation from the leadership of the JFF. They can't get any travel arrangements right. They can't even get passports right. So how do we expect to be successful in this environment?
I think it's exactly as I mentioned. The professionalism starts from the head. JFF has to do a better job in just organize the entire Reggae Boyz and really all their teams associated. JFF has shown too often that they've gotten it wrong. Visas issue, players not getting their passport in time, and that will now stem to the players and their reactions. Now you have players, as Paul mentioned, now doing their bit when it comes down to lack of professionalism. It really starts from the top and they come down with the exact same thing. Paul also mentioned it's really the main focus now is the Gold Cup and thereafter the World Cup qualifiers.
So we're going to come to the World Cup qualifiers in a little bit, because I think we have our first game on the 2nd of September, and then the next one is on the 5th. So we have under a month. But before we get to that, there is, because we have some players, some big name players, I'm going to put it right here. Leon Bailey, he has played what? At least between 10 and 12 games for Jamaica, but I haven't seen a good game from him yet. What was the issue with him in the Gold Cup? Why is it that he was unable to deliver for us? You first, Ashton, then you, Sir Paul.
I do agree. I have not seen a game from Leon at the caliber he produces for his club. There could be a number of reasons, both off the field, on the field.
Injuries, one of them?
It has been rumored that he was injured throughout the tournament.
Sir Paul seems to disagree, but I'll give him his chance to rebut.
What it really comes down to for in most scenarios for Leon is having him in positions that he can do well in. I don't think the type of game that we have been playing has perfectly suited Leon, and that could also contribute as to why.
But does the player not have a responsibility? What about leadership on the field? Because the coach could do what he wishes and tell you what to do, but you're out there, you could assess what's happening and make adjustments. Is that not a part of it too?
It is a part of it. As a player, especially a high-level player, you expect that he can adjust his game in a number of different ways. But I still believe it is the responsibility of the coach, and we see it right across the world, whether it is club football, international football. I think it is the job of the coach to ensure his best players get the ball in the best positions, and that's how you'll get the best results. And
that they behave their best and do what is required to be on the field.
Right.
Sir Paul, when he mentioned injury, I saw a look on your face. Are those rumors of injury true?
Was he injured?
I'm asking you. You are in the know much more than I am. Did you see any evidence of injury?
No, I didn't see any evidence of injury at all.
Did you see any evidence of fatigue?
I don't know. Sometimes when we stay up late at nights, we are fatigued. So, that happens to the best of us.
Are you suggesting then that it was not football reasons why he was left out for 2 games?
There are ways, okay, sometimes we see...
were you ever a dancer?
No.
So were you trying to dance around the question?
Maybe
was he
as good a dancer as some of these youngsters.
Right.
I know Bailey's a good dancer. I know that.
Okay, and based on what? Video evidence?
Yes, we have seen him dance quite well.
And this is coming out of the Gold Cup?
We have seen him dance quite
coming out of the Gold Cup.
We have seen him. He's a very good dancer.
All right. I think I got the answer I was looking for. All right. So where do we go from here now? Because as we all know, World Cup qualifiers, ours start on the 2nd of September. And obviously, based on what we have looked at, we have dissected the whole thing. There needs to be a number of changes in terms of personnel. Who needs to come and who needs to go? Ashton, you first.
I don't think we have too many options starting at the wing-back positions.
Really?
Not that we are hearing that is ready to play.
Okay.
I think
so we wasted a lot of time because the coach has been there for in excess of 5 years. We all knew when World Cup was going to start, and we're still in the process of recruiting. Continue, Ashton.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the issue that we are facing, and it goes to some of the off-the-field antics that started from last year coming into this year that we still have not found our actual team. We're still looking to find some persons to come in, as you said, British-based players that are Jamaicans to come into both the team. I think a lot of those options we are hearing are further up the field. Roof, Gray. We saw a bit of Jamal Lowe when he played against USA last year.
We heard a lot about Michael Antonio and others, but until I see them, then I don't see them. I know he has his passport now, but I'm going to take you off the hot seat a little bit because I have to put Sir Paul under some pressure here. Now, who needs to come and who needs to go?
Okay, what I can say, based off of Saudi Arabia, one of the standout players was Greg Wright. Right?
Greg Lee.
Yes.
Well, you got the Greg right.
Anyway, Greg Lee, right? Okay. He is the right player.
Okay.
He can play on either side.
Okay.
So the problems that we might have on the right back, he can play right there.
Okay. But what about Chigo? Mr. Brown?
Yes, Javian Brown is another good option because he's getting his footing in
Vancouver.
And I think he has been having good games so far, so he's another option for the right back position.
Okay.
Because as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to be honest.
So you've been dishonest a few times. All right, continue.
I wouldn't be unhappy if I saw those two players coming in to replace anybody at that position. Those two.
All right, so Ravel comes back to add some creativity to the top of the midfield. Defensive midfield, we still haven't spoken about that, and we lack the finishing touch. You still haven't told me who are the other players to come in and who should go.
Well, what might have to happen, is that the problem is, there's a problem.
A problem?
There are two players, Kevin Stewart and Jordan Cousins, that were named in the
60,
and they were never called. That would have been the ideal time.
When you said they were never called, you mean the players were not aware?
No, they weren't called to even come to the Gold Cup. Would have been the perfect time to start to integrate them. I can't see you integrating any of these two with about 2 days preparation, because you're not going to have these players for more than 2 days before, or 3 days maximum.
But they say football is a universal language. Once you understand basic football, then you should be able to play. And with Paul Hall, who is based in England, understands the British system, then maybe if both coaches have a powwow and they get their minds together, and Paul played for Jamaica before that, he may be able to perform some magic or aid in some magic happening.
I really don't expect that to happen, because I really don't expect that to happen.
But hold on, pause right there. You don't expect that to happen. So are you suggesting then we're going to be off to a very poor start, and that disaster may not be stemmed? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Are you have a similar view?
I think the coach has a very difficult decision trying to decide, taking new players. I think typically speaking, it's easier to put in attackers, but persons in your defensive line, yes, holding midfielder, wing backs, is very difficult to have new persons. I think Gregory he came to have a good game for us. I think the best thing, as mentioned, he's a utility player. He can play on both sides of the line. So I definitely think he's someone that can add something, but I also remember he has only played 2 games for us.
Are you a defensive player, Ashton?
Yes.
Okay, it came out in
I think really what it is, Jamaica can get it right. I don't think we have to get it perfect, but we can get it right enough to qualify for the World Cup. And that's really what we're trying to do. And I think really each game we have to try and build on what we have. We do not have a ready product, and we have to use each game to build one on top of the other.
Thank you very much. I think that's a positive way on which to end this program. That's all the time we have. Thank you very much, Ashton. Thank you very much, Sir Paul. And until we meet again, have a good one.